and we welcome in J.T. Lundy, who is obviously an author, and he writes novels and screenplays. And congratulations on the new book, which I don't know if I mentioned the title in my selling of it. It's Happy Utopia Day, Joe McCarthy. Welcome, J.T.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on the show.
My pleasure. Okay, so explain to the folks where you get Happy Utopia Day, Joe McCarthy from.
Well, Happy Utopia Day, Joe McCarthy. The premise of the book, kind of like you said, it's a lighthearted action-adventure thriller and a satire, but it has a lot of serious themes. And the premise of the book is Senator Joe McCarthy, the famous senator of McCarthyism from the 1950s. And this is fiction, by the way. The fiction story is that he started a secret program that operates in an underground nuclear bunker. And this program is still operating today by loyal McCarthy followers. And they use this program to help them infiltrate and take over the government today. And they use the office of the presidency to issue executive orders to install their totalitarian regime. So that's the premise. And then we have, of course, a hero, kind of a fish out of water story, a lowly customs executive that works for the government that is called by the president to save the day. He has James Bond fantasies, and he comes in and tries to save the day. Okay,
so that makes for exciting reading and you know, good political satire, like you said, and fiction with a little, you know, possibility of a little bit of truism involved. But I was interested, I was intrigued by the Happy Utopia Day would have intrigued me, and then adding the Joe McCarthy really intrigued me. So talk to me a little bit about. I mean, you picked Joe McCarthy for a reason, and it fits in with your book. But if you could have picked somebody else, somebody fast forwarding to, you know, the last few years, modern day figure, who might you have inserted in there in another situation? But for the, you know, in other words, if the book was more up to date, kind of, who would you have picked instead of Joe McCarthy?
Well, you know, I guess if you know, Joe McCarthy was going to come back today, it's going to be somebody, and maybe not an individual. Maybe it's an organization, and I think this individual and organization is going to be someone extremely adept with the internet or computers in general. And you know, they're talking about the Internet of Things, where internet computers and things can actually talk with each other. So, you know, maybe a fringe organization like WikiLeaks or even Anonymous, that you know, they will maybe appeal to some fear that we have, unknown fear that we have in the future, and use that fear to kind of take over, maybe not only take over, but, you know, to increase their power, and a power that could be scary in some unforeseen way.
What about a collapse? You talk about how, you know, you believe, or the one of the greatest threat of abuses of power is the use of executive orders. How do you feel about Obama, you know, constantly saying and then doing in many instances, his saying, as a matter of fact, his theme during one of the themes during his re-election was, we can't wait, meaning if Congress won't act, I'll do what I can executive order-wise to get it done. Selective enforcement of various laws that have been passed, you know, executive order after executive order. Many say circumventing the Constitution on recess appointments, as 3 courts have found, and others. I mean, are you concerned by Barack Obama, kind of, and in addition, what we found out about, you know, the enhanced NSA capabilities, and notwithstanding what he told Jay Leno yesterday that we're not spying on Americans? I mean, does any of this concern you?
Right. And he said we're not spying on Americans, but then he also said we should be very suspicious of our government. So I'm right along with that. It does concern me. You know, Roosevelt dramatically increased the executive powers of the government, and every president since then has used them, Republican and Democrat. So it's you know, and not only, you know, the executive orders, I think, bypass the Congress, they bypass the people. There's no catch to them. Like, you know, if we've all learned that Congress passes the law, and the president can either sign the law or he can veto it. Well, when the president makes an executive order or a national security directive, there's no check there. I mean, it instantly becomes law. Okay, maybe the Supreme Court secretly views it, or a secret court kind of views it. Well, you know, that kind of scares me. And it's kind of the same thing, McCarthy was using, and that's my fear is if the government with these NSA things is recording everything we do. They're recording all our website visits, recording our private emails. We've entered a 1984 George Orwell society, and maybe we think what we are doing is innocent today. Well, who knows in 30 years? They might not be so innocent. People, someone in power, someone in government go, look what you did back in 2013 on the internet. We think you should be prosecuted for this.
Right. No, and by the way, we're talking to author J.T. Lundy, his new book, Happy Utopia Day, Joe McCarthy, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And we just had a guest on in the previous hour to talk about, or 2 hours ago, to talk about smart TVs. And by the way, your webcam on your computer, but whether it's laptop or desktop, that they conceivably could be looking at what you're doing while you're watching, while you're sitting in your living room, bedroom, basement, wherever it is, and recording it, and that it could be the government or hackers or both.
Exactly. It's the George Orwell telescreen has come to life. I graduated high school in 1984. So I've always kind of had this fear, and as 1984 we approached, it was kind of like, oh, is George Orwell his big brother here? And no, he really wasn't. But now it seems like he is. So.
Well, yeah, no, it certainly does seem like he is, and I don't know how to turn it back. I mean, do you know how to? I mean, is there any way to turn it back?
Well, I don't know if we can turn it back, but we can certainly fight it, and we can certainly try to stay on top of it. I think. The senator from Illinois made a great comment the other day. When we go in front of there's secret executive orders that we don't know what they are, and they go in front of a secret court. So the government pleads their case to the court and says, well, we think this is okay. But who's representing the people? I mean, there needs to be a representative of Congress or somebody representing the people. If we as a people decide and we vote on it and say, hey, we want a society or we want a government that watches everything we do, then I guess there's nothing we can do. But we should at least have a say in what goes on.
Doesn't it, in fact, make, if you're critical of what Joe McCarthy did and critical of his motives and critical of information that he tried to get out of people and whatnot, doesn't it make Joe McCarthy look like nothing? Doesn't it make that whole era, that whole episode in history, again, if you're critical of it, doesn't it just diminish the significance of it compared to now? I mean, at least then, he named names. You knew you were under investigation. You were called before the Congress. You were able to at least say something. Now, like you said, we don't know what the heck they're finding out about us and what they're going to do with it.
Right. The powers, Joe McCarthy did use, he encouraged actually leaking of government information. And he went to the people and said, if you have secret documents and you work for the federal government, please, and they expose communism or subversive activities, even though it's illegal, even though the president has issued an order not to release these documents, please send them to me. So as far as Snowden was concerned, he would agree with that. Please leak the information and let us know. But Snowden,
went to a foreign government, a foreign country, and told the world. He didn't go to Congress.
Exactly. But at the same time, the powers that the government has and the secret surveillance, that the government has is beyond anything I ever imagined that would happen.
Yeah. All right. Listen, a very interesting book, interesting topic, and I'm sure you'll have a follow-up of sorts, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
My pleasure. That's author J.T. Lundy, ladies and gentlemen. The book, Happy Utopia Day, Joe